Hi guys, Artiar here. So for this video, we'll be talking about Yalina. Yalina is the epic rarity and it's a shimmer type, and you can get her for free. And where can you get her? You can come to the event page here, and then you come to the shop here. You are able to buy a 7 copy of Yalina, which means you can get Yalina go to R6. You can get Yalina R6 for free. You just need to do the mission. Like what we used to have, all the story mode thing, you just need to complete the mission and then you are able to buy all the Yalina copy. Alright, so let's take a look at Yalina's kit. So Yalina is a Esper that is giving out bleeds and also able to give out some unique stack. So what is the unique stack? Before that, we take a look at the S1. S1 attack one enemy deals 80% of attack, so if max skill is 140% attack, and then she inflicts buff blocker, which is very good. And if the enemy has promise breaker is her passive. I'll go through that later. So if enemy have the promise breaker debuff before attacking, Yalina will get attack up and crit rate for 2 turns. So she's able to self-buff herself, attack up and crit rate up, but there's a condition, which means you need the passive. So for the passive, you inflict 1 stack of promise breaker on the enemy whenever they receive healing. So healing such as like Lian's bubble healing, Sally's healing, Jinyu Yao's healing, Clara's healing, it is counted by ticks. So let's say Clara is gonna heal 2 times from her S1, so it will inflict 2 stack of promise breaker. So let's say Ahmed with 3 heals, because S1 heals 3 times, then will inflict 3 stack of promise breaker. Okay, so it's not based by turn, it's based by how many ticks of healing. Okay, so every 1 stack of promise breaker will increase the damage taken by 10%. And this 10% is stackable up to 10 stacks. So it's 100% damage taken if they heals 10 times. So enemy will have a damage taken plus 100%, and then crit rate reduced by 20% when attacking Yalina. So enemy who is gonna attack Yalina, if they have a promise breaker and they have like 5 stack of promise breaker, then there's a 100% crit rate reduced when you're hitting Yalina. So Yalina will be higher survivability when they are trying to kill her, because they can't crit on Yalina. Not just that, this promise breaker debuff also randomly dispel 1 buff from the carrier at the end of their turn. So when they end their turn, if you have promise breaker, they're gonna dispel the buff. And what makes the promise breaker is so broken, she's able to dispel 1 buff from the carrier at the end of their turn and max 10 stack, and this is stackable, which means enemy, let's say enemy have 10 stack of promise breaker, then when they end their turn, they're gonna dispel 10 buff from them. This is tested from PTR server. I don't know if they're gonna change this thing or not, but it is gonna dispel 10 times. So which means no matter how many buff they have, they will straight away dispel all of them, because 10 buff dispel. Then that's how you inflict the promise breaker. Then if the target have at least 7 stack of promise breaker, Yalina will perform a pursuit attack on all enemy with Dolly Destruction. Dolly Destruction is her S3, so she's going to pursue with her S3 whenever the target have a 7 stack of promise breaker. It triggers up to once per turn. Okay, so then what is S3? S3 attack all enemy 2 times, damage per hit is 30%, and each hit has a 50% chance of inflicting bleed for 2 turns. Then for every bleed stack on the target have, it ignores 10% of the defense up to 50%. So the S3 is where her main DPS is, then S1 is where she is able to self-gain buff like attack up and crit rate up, and then passive is the most important thing, would inflict damage taken increase, crit rate reduced to her, and then you also dispel 1 buff from the carrier at the end of the turn, max 10 stack. Okay, then for her definite is also pretty good as well. When her HP is full, then her S3 final damage increased by 15%. It seems like the condition is hard to trigger, but it's actually, if you take a look at her R6, because we are able to get her for free until R6, right? So the reason here, R2, when the target HP is below than 50%, you increase your damage, and then for every enemy Yalina kills, she gets more crit rate. And then the last one here, when an Esper falls, which means the enemy falls, Yalina will dispel her debuff and recover HP by 100%, so she can make herself back to full healthy And then if the fallen Esper is an enemy inflicted with Promise Breaker, then this Promise Breaker debuff will transfer the remaining stack to other enemy. So it'll spread out. The Promise Breaker won't just waste it, will spread it out. So this is the Promise Breaker. Okay, then let's take a look at some clips. Okay, so this is the clip here of testing how the damage taken is going to go. Okay, so you can see my Clara S1 on the enemy. When enemy have 0 stack of Promise Breaker, it only deals 1116. Then after that, okay, you're gonna see how it goes. So now this enemy is gonna heal everyone. So when he heal everyone, because it's 1 tick of heal, everyone get 1 stack of the Promise Breaker. Okay, then then my Clara hit the one that have the Promise Breaker with 1 stack. The damage S1 now increased to 1228 instead of 1116. So it got damage increased by the 1 stack. Then let's take a look. Okay, so now you can see this enemy here is getting 2 stack of Promise Breaker now, because just now here he heals himself with 2500, and then the heal trigger Yalina's passive, so he's got 2 stack now. Then my Clara is gonna S1. Did my Clara S1 already? Wait. Okay, now my Clara S1 with the 2 stack of Promise Breaker. Now the S1 increased to 1340 damage. So if we take a look at the calculator part here, 1116 is the base damage. Then I increase by 2 stack, so 20%, which is a 223.2 increase, plus the original damage is 1116 equals to 1339.2, which is like almost the exact same number of 1340s, which means the damage taken is stackable, and the max stack is 10 stacks, which means you can make the damage taken increase up to 100%. 100% plus Seer is going to be 125% of damage taken increase. This is very crazy, because if the let's say the enemy is able to do like a lot of healing, you are able to keep on stacking this stack until max stack, and then everything your damage here is going to increase by 100%. This is very strong debuff, because even like Seer is just only a 25% damage taken increase, but this Promise Breaker is able to increase up to 100%. Okay, so you can see here now it's 2 stack, and then they cleanse away. She's actually trying to cleanse. So you can see here 1 stack, 1 stack, 1 stack, 2 stack, 2 stack. Then she cleansed with the heals, and then they left 1 stack. And then they also try to dispel. Right. Okay, then if we come here. Okay, so 3 stack. Now the enemy have 3 stack, and then Clara S1. And now the damage increased to 1451. So this part here is proving that the Promise Breaker damage taken increase is actually stackable up to 10 stack. Okay, then the other showcase here is about the healing part. Okay, so you can see now enemy Lian is on bubble, and then the bubble mode means every time we hit the enemy, they always heal. They will heal back, right? And then Clara here have 2 stack already, and then now enemy is have the Lian. So let's see. My Clara is gonna S1 on Lian. Then Lian tick 1 time of the heal, so it get 1 stack of the Promise Breaker. Then my same thing goes for my Ollie. My Ollie heal 1 time, it heals attack 1 time, it heals 1 time, so the Promise Breaker is 2 stack now. So if you see, if I keep on stacking like 3 stack now, then I just keep on damaging until 4 stack. Because you need 7 stack to actually trigger her passive, the one that they pursued. Okay, then here as well. Okay, look at this part. So you can see here, Clara have 1 stack of Promise Breaker, and then 1 stack of Silence. So now Clara use S1. It heals her 2 times and Dispel 2 times. So she Dispel the Promise Breaker and the Silence, but because she healed 2 times, so he get back 2 stack of Promise Breaker. So it's based by tick. Then if I continue attacking on Lian, then Lian is going to get more stack. Now it's 6 stack. And then when 7 stack. Okay, so when 7 stack. Okay, 7 stack now, and then it damage. Then I pursued with a S3. Then because when I attack S3 on everyone, Lian's healing triggers again, then everyone get one more stack of Promise Breaker. Okay, then now 2 stack, 3 stack, 1 stack, 1 stack. Now they have 5 stack. Okay, 6 stack, 7 stack. Okay, so now 7 stacks, 2 stack, 2 stack, 2 stack. And then you can see this damage taken here is actually from bleed. Oh, this damage here is from bleed. Okay, then cause it's 7 stack already. Then Yalina's pursued with S3 damage to AoE damage. And then you can see that's actually Dispel, which means every stack can dispel 1 time. So if you are 7 stack, you're going to dispel 7 times. Technically dispel all debuff. Dispel all buff. Okay, then why here I can pursue 2 times? So you can see here, Yalina S3, it kills him, right? And then it heals back, it revives back, and then Yalina will do another pursuit. Okay, so you can see here, enemies Yalina doesn't have stack. Now Lian casts S2 that heals a lot time. 3 procs, so 3 stack. 1 heals, so 1 stack. Okay, so you can see here, now enemy have the Promise Breaker, but when Sally casts S2, why I didn't trigger any Promise Breaker? Because Sally before R2, because this enemy Sally is R1, it won't heal, it only redistribute the HP and cleanse. So it redistribute HP doesn't count as heal, so it won't trigger Yalina's passive, so there's no Promise Breaker on the enemy team. And also the Promise Breaker is able to increase the bleed damage as well. So if we take a look at this part here, okay, so now enemy have 2 bleed stack and 1 seer, and enemy got 5172 damage by the bleed. Enemy have 2 bleed and 1 seer. Then 0 stack is 5172 from the bleed damage, and then the other guy here got 5239 damage from 0 stack. 0 stack of Promise Breaker. But it's the same thing, it's 1 seer and 2 bleeds. Okay, but now we're gonna apply the Promise Breaker. So now enemy have the Promise Breaker. They have the same thing, which is 1 seer and 2 bleeds. And then now you can take a look if they take their turn. So I just don't attack them. When they take their turn, this time the bleed damage increased from 5172 increased to 5586. Then for the other enemy here, now their bleed damage taken is from 5239 increased to 5659, which means the Promise Breaker stack is also increasing the bleed damage taken increase, which is very interesting. So which means bleed combo will be something else now, because with Yalina exists, Yalina, the more bleed stack Yalina S3 is gonna ignore more defense, and then Yalina is able to put more Promise Breaker. Then like Camille is one of the best bleed Esper here, we're able to trigger a lot of bleed, and the bleed will also get damage increased by the Promise Breaker, which is very strong. Okay, so I'll show you another show. Okay, so here's another video clip for Yalina's testing. So Brewster here, R6 Brewster is able to self-heal because of the S1. When he shoots, the S1 bullet is able to self-heal, and then Ahmed here is able to heal as well for 3 stack. So let's take a look how Yalina is gonna perform against this team. So you can see here. Okay, so now Brewster attack from the passive bullet, it heals 2 times, so it triggers 2 stack of the Promise Breaker. Alright, then you can see at first here, okay, Brewster have an attack buff, but after triggering from the Promise Breaker have 2 stack, it resists the first Promise Breaker Dispel, but the second Dispel, it dispels away the attack up from Brewster. Okay, then now it reapply the attack up is from the Itisa. Then Brewster follows up with the passive assist here, then 2 heals, and then it triggers the Promise Breaker again. So now Brewster have a total of 4 stack. Then the 4 stack here, Brewster resist 1, Dispel 1, resist 1, Dispel 1, which means every stack of the Promise Breaker is able to dispel 1 buff away. So let's say you have 10 stack, you're going to dispel 10 times. Okay, then Brewster S3, 1 heal here, so another Promise Breaker, so it's a total of 5 stack now. And then Brewster get the crit rate up, right? But instantly got Dispel away because of the 5 stack here, resist 1 time, Dispel, 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 Dispel. So buff, it feels the buff isn't gonna be useful anymore because if your Esper is able to self heal, it's actually getting a backstab by the Promise Breaker. Okay, now Ahmed is gonna attack, so Ahmed is gonna heal 3 times, 3 procs, so Promise Breaker 3 times. Okay, then Brewster hit 2 times again. It from 5 stack increased to 7 stack. And then it also triggers all those Dispel thing again. Okay, now it's 7 stacks, so Yalina is able to proc her S3 from her pursuit. So now Yalina is able to do AoE damage from her pursuit itself. Then you can just I just randomly attack. Okay, now Brewster assists again, 2 heals, and then now Brewster stack will go to 9 stack. And then it triggers all the Dispel thing, Dispel resist. And then because it's 7 stack above, when you are 7 stack above and then you trigger heals, it will trigger Yalina's S3 pursuit, so Yalina is going to cast S3 and attack everyone. Then Brewster do S2 damage, heal again, so now become 10 stack, and the heal because it's 7 stack above, it triggers again, then Yalina is going to pursue with S3 again. So Yalina S3 damage again. Then the S3 triggers Ahmed Avatara, and then Ahmed is going to heal. Then Ahmed heals 3 times on Brewster, so Brewster gonna get more 3 stack. But Brewster is already at 10 stack, so it cannot get any more stack. And then why doesn't Yalina pursue this time? Because Yalina, as the pursuit can only be done once per turn. Okay, now I just randomly do some damage. Okay, I can cast my S3 by myself. Okay, now this damage is from the bleed because Yalina is a bleed dealer. Okay, now Brewster assists and then damage 2 times, so heals 2 times, and then Brewster is a 10 stack above of the Promise Breaker, so it's going to trigger Yalina pursuit again. S3. Then Ahmed is going to heal everyone with so many ticks, so everyone is going to get so many stack. Especially you can see Ahmed instantly get 8 stack now, and then it triggers Yalina's S3. Okay, then Brewster didn't heal this time because no more bullet stack. You can see so many Dispel everywhere. Okay, I need someone to heal. Okay, Ahmed heals again, and then because Ahmed is 7 stack above, it triggers Yalina's pursuit again. Okay, so now 10 stack, 6 stack, 3 stack. So healing will be a very dangerous thing when Yalina is here. Then they just died to the bleeds because there are so many bleed stack on them. Then bleed die. Yeah. So Yalina will be a very powerful counter, especially to the one that for those teams that's able to keep on healing, keep on buffing themselves with immunity, defend up buff, a lot of kind of buff. But when you heal, you're gonna get the Promise Breaker. Unless you have immunity on the Esper, then you won't get inflicted by the Promise Breaker. But once you get inflicted by the Promise Breaker is able to dispel so many buff from you. Technically, you cannot have any buff at all when you end your turn. Alright, so let's take a look at the next one. This showcase is provided by XYZ, so you can take a look how Yalina is performing in Infinity Tower 4th floor, and this is on PTR server. And this is R0 as well. Okay, so now because enemy have Lien, so they are trying to stack up the Promise Breaker now. Because Lien keep healing, then it keep triggering Promise Breaker. yeah, so this is the one of the showcase of how Promise Breaker and how Yalina is going to use in like future content, especially when enemy have like Lien, all those healing kind of mechanic, then Yalina will come in very handy, a very good position because of her kit. Alright, so that's all for the video today. Feel free to comment down how do you think about Yalina's Promise Breaker. I think she is a very future-proof unit, especially what she's able to do and especially her passive that is able to increase the damage taken up to 100%. Especially if there's a boss content that the boss will continuously heal himself, he is actually able to stack a lot of Promise Breaker and the damage is going to increase by a lot. Right, so hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.